Today's tips and tricks involves residential security and things that you can do with your lighting, landscaping, and physical security to help reduce the chances of your residence getting broken into, whether you're there or not. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Crime Free Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. D. On this episode, I'm going to talk about some security options that we have to secure and make sure our residence, basically where we live, is secure and to prevent incidents and burglaries from occurring. Now, some of these principles can also be applied to businesses, so don't think that it only applies to where you live. I'll do another episode later on specifically for businesses, but this one's going to be directed towards residential safety and security. So when I was a police officer, I went ahead and I became certified in what they call CPTED. It stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. Anybody could look this up on the internet and see specifically what that entails. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about the three main features of that, which consist of lighting, landscaping, and physical security. So lighting is actually the number one deterrent when it comes to crime prevention. So think about it this way. Look at car dealerships. Every time you go through or drive by a car dealership at nighttime, it is lit up. I mean, better than Christmas, better than like the best lit house on your street. It's so lit, I'm sure you can see it from outer space. But that's because they're trying to prevent people from breaking into the property and stealing cars in the middle of the night when the place is closed. Because criminals, they hide in the shadows and where there's darkness, and they look for opportunities to commit crime. So if you give them an opportunity to hide someplace where they may not be able to be seen by anyone, then that is an advantage for a criminal to commit a crime. So when it comes to the landscaping on your residence, wherever you live, whether you live in a house, an apartment community, or maybe you live at a hotel, all of this can apply towards that. So specifically the lighting, like I said, the lighting is the number one crime prevention strategy. For instance, if you go down the street from your house or in the street and you see that your house is pitch black at night, again, that is inviting criminals. That's not to say that criminals won't commit crimes if your house is lit up like a Christmas tree, but it'll reduce the chances of your house getting broken into, whether you're there or not. Okay, so sometimes people set up automatic timers so that way the lights come on a certain at a certain time, and that's fine. And if you forget to turn on the lights at night, then that may be a good option. But one of the things that I've seen, during my career is not necessarily that people don't have the lights on. It's that either the lights don't work because they go out or there's insufficient lighting. Okay? So think about it. Walk around your house, and if it's a dark area, maybe add a light if you can, or maybe add a brighter light bulb. If you live in an apartment complex, I know you can't change the lighting. You can't control that. But you can certainly talk to the management and let them know that there's areas that are super dark, and those could be dangerous. And the the company has an obligation to make sure those lights are working, and that make sure that they're sufficient enough to light certain areas. So keep that in mind. The same thing goes to if you stay at a hotel. Let them know if an area is too dark so they can go ahead and change that lighting. So going back, automatic timers, that's a good thing. So you can actually put those outside, but you can actually put them inside as well. Because let's say you go out of town, or you just go out to dinner, and you think you may come back when it's late, after dark. Go ahead and leave a light on so that way it's not pitch black when you get home. So that way you can see when you come in, but also it gives the impression that someone's home. How many times we go out someplace and we come back, at nighttime, we go out during the day, wherever we need to go. We come back at night, and your house is so dark. I don't care if you lived there your whole life or not. It's an eerie feeling when you walk up to your house, especially when you walk inside and there isn't a light switch immediately in front of you. Even if there is, you still got to get to that light switch, and you don't know what's lurking and hiding in the darkness. Heck, it could be a critter that all of a sudden pops out on you when you turn the light on. The same thing works with criminal activity. So go ahead and leave a light on inside. Leave the lights on outside, so that way you have some lighting when you come back. Okay, again, this is going to help reduce, specifically burglaries, residential burglaries from occurring. The other thing is the landscaping. So when I went to this training, the CPTED training, they talked about a 3-foot, 6-foot rule. What that basically means is all your bushes should not be higher than 3 feet. So basically, all your bushes should be less than 3 feet high, and all your tree canopies should be at a minimum of 6 feet high or higher. And what that does, once again, it prevents someone from hiding behind a bush or from hiding from an overgrown tree. Because, again, those are dark areas. Those are areas where they can lurk and prey on people without, you being able to see them easily. For example, let's say you go out of town. I know I keep talking about out of town. Let's say you're in town, okay? And you go to an area that you're not familiar with, and it's dark. Are you going to walk down a dark area or an area that has like overgrown bushes and all that? Probably not, because those areas, if you have a feeling that something's not right, it probably isn't. So we need to keep that in mind. So all your bushes, and again, if you want to go higher with your tree canopy, take it up to 7-8 feet. That's fine. And your bushes, if you want to take them lower, that might look a little funny, but hey, by all means, take your bushes below 3 feet. This is especially important around windows. A lot of times people want to put bushes around windows, and that acts as a deterrent. So that way, because you have to basically get past these bushes in order to, let's say, break into a window and get into a house. And that's fine. Have the bushes in front of the window. Have thorny bushes, those holly bushes with the thorns on them that everyone hates to cut, because when they trim them and you got to pick up all the cut leaves and everything, those things are super sharp, and you got to have gloves on. And if you have cheap gloves, sometimes they poke the gloves. But those are awesome to have. If you don't want anyone to be in a certain area, put those thorny bushes in those areas. If you have an area, let's say, that's prone to, getting your fence kicked in or whatever, whatever it is, put those thorny bushes. But make sure that if they're in front of your residence, that you keep them low. Because the last thing you want is to have these bushes so big that someone's able to hide behind it. They may not break into your house, but they may be able to hide behind and jump out on you or someone else when they're coming to your residence. So that's with the landscaping. So again, bushes no higher, or I should say bushes at 3 feet height or less, and your tree canopy, heck, take it up to 7-8 feet high. At least that, if you cut them more than what they need to be, then that'll give you time. You don't have to cut them all, every single week or every 2 weeks or whatever the case is. And again, this especially applies to areas of apartment communities. If you live in an apartment community and you see something like that stands out, let your management personnel know so they can let the landscaping crew know to go ahead and cut these trees and bushes at a decent height, so that way people aren't hiding behind them. And then the last thing is physical security. So physical security is going to consist of simple things. For instance, let's say the door, your front door to wherever you live. You have the lock that's on the door. Then you have the strike plate. That's basically where the lock goes into the strike plate to basically lock your door and secure it, so that way someone can't break in. That strike plate, those key and lock kits, they come with a 1-inch screw. Those screws are not enough to prevent someone from kicking in your door. Okay, so what you need to do is invest in a 3-inch or 4-inch screw, and you need to take those little 1-inch screws out of the strike plate and put the longer screws, the 3 or 4-inch screws. The reason why we do that is because those longer screws will actually now catch onto the 2x4, the actual framing of the door. So what that does, it makes the door stronger when it gets kicked in, or if someone tries to kick it in. They also have kits that actually make the strike plate longer. And what that does is that spreads the energy and the force that it takes to kick in that door. So if you have, let's say, you buy one of these kits and it has a 6-inch strike plate, you're going to end up putting 3 or 4-inch screws in each slot. So now that energy goes from the 2 screws that are in the strike plate to, let's say, like 6 or 8 screws spread out. So that's going to help prevent that from being kicked in. And you could do it on the opposite side. You can actually put the same length screws on the hinge side. Windows, make sure your windows are secure as well. If you have locks that don't work on those windows, make sure you get them fixed, because the last thing you want is a suspect, a criminal, trying to lift the window and is able to defeat the window lock because it was weak or it was broken. Sliding glass doors is another thing. There's some old doors, sliding doors, that are able to be lifted off the hinges. So you need to check these sliding glass doors. Sometimes what people do, they'll put, like, let's say, a long stick on the bottom of the door, the sliding door. So if somebody tries to pull it open, they can't only go so far because that stick is blocking it. But like I said, sometimes those locks can be defeated by lifting. So see if your sliding glass door has any play. If it does, you need to get that fixed and reduce that, or get the door fixed. So again, the lighting, landscape, and physical security, Some other things that we need to keep in mind is, if you're going to be going on vacation, you need to probably talk with a neighbor or talk with a family member to go ahead and retrieve your mail, because criminals look at that as well. If they see a mailbox full of mail, 1 day, 2 days, they probably can guess that someone's not there and they may break in. The same thing with your newspapers. If you get newspapers delivered and you got a stack of them outside, that is a sign, that someone is not there. Same goes for your trash can. If your trash can is out 2-3 days, criminals, it doesn't take much to figure out that, someone may not be there. Okay, so these are all the things that you can do to help reduce the chances of being the victim of a burglary. And again, it applies for everything. It doesn't matter where you live, in a house, like I mentioned before, a hotel, or an apartment. It's all the same. Or if you rent and own, all of this applies. If you can't change some of these things, you need to talk to someone that can change them, whether that's the landlord, the property management, or whoever it is. And then the last thing I want to cover is the social media. If you do happen to go out of town, what I would do personally is be cautious on putting the information out on social media that you're vacationing and you're doing this and doing that, because it's not necessarily the people that you know that may break into your house. It's someone that you tell that tells someone else who tells someone else who tells someone else that's going to break into your place where you live. And that's what we have to keep in mind. We have kids that are always on social media and posting things. Maybe someone they know might break into your place, or someone else. So be cautious on putting that information out while you're on vacation. There's nothing wrong with, getting all these pictures and videos and all that and post it when you get back. It's not going to change anything. What's the difference between, when you're out there or when you get back? People don't know the difference. They don't know if you're doing it right now or later on. But if you're doing it right now, then again, that just sets you up for possibly being victimized, and we don't want that. So I hope these tips help you out. If you want to know more details, like I said, you can search online. You can hit me up, and I'll talk about it some more. But it's called Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. It's very simple. Some of these things don't cost a whole lot of money to go ahead and do. So hopefully this helps you out. Thanks for tuning in, and please check me out on the next one. Holla at your boy.